Happy Sunday. I'm Reverend Kathy McCall. I'm minister at Unity North Spiritual Center in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. So welcome to our Sunday lesson on July 26, 2020. If you're new with us today, you can check us out on our website, unitynorthmn.org. That's where people donate for classes, and you can check out upcoming events or just donate in general for these Sunday lessons. Also, I have an upcoming class starting on August 6th. It will be 3 weeks of a virtual class. The 6th, 13th, and 20th is called Calling All Angels. And so, these divine beings that come to bring us grace and guide us are worth exploring, and we will look into how we can tune into these beings, how we can invite their guidance and just experience their presence. So please join us. Go on the website and you can sign up there. And today I'll read our daily word for the day, and that's followed by the lesson called Claim Your Power. So first of all, our daily word. Just take a moment, get centered and still. And the word for today is pray for others. I affirm truth for everyone I hold in prayer. I'm honored by the trust people place in me when they ask for prayer support. As I pray for others, I see each one for whom I pray as divine and know the truth that each one is a living expression of God. My purpose in prayer is not to focus on the particulars of a situation, but to hold a higher view. As I center in prayer, I hold the vision that all challenging circumstances are moving toward a satisfying resolution in one way or another. I release all thoughts about the situation that prompted the prayer need and focus on the activity of God. As I pray, I see the life, the love, the wisdom, and the power of God at work, healing, strengthening, and establishing peace in all those for whom I pray. And from Philippians 1, verses 3 to 4, I thank my God every time I remember you, constantly praying with joy in every one of my prayers for all of you. So we give thanks for the power of prayer and the ability to pray for others. And so it is. Amen. So claim your power. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them. One ring to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. These words from Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien speak to the ring of power. In the story, the Dark Lord Sauron searches for this ring in order to wield it, so that evil may again rule the land. Frodo Baggins, hero and ring bearer, along with his friends, his fellowship, all seek to destroy the ring so evil will be conquered and light and goodness will prevail. A very typical mythic theme. There's only one problem. In order to destroy the ring, Frodo must carry it into the heart of Mordor, the land of the Dark Lord, and cast it into the fires of Mount Doom. And there is the ever-present danger of the ring that corrupts its bearer over time. Now this story is our story, for the sacred quest is ours. It is our quest for divine love and authentic power. Like Frodo, the hero, we hold the ring of power, the potential to wield our great creative powers for good or ill. And we must journey into the land of our own ego, to cast the ring into the refiner's fire, to release the last vestige of our fears, our greed, our negative issues, our prejudice, and most especially our need for control. We uncover, acknowledge, and change the unhealthy parts of ourself. And just like the story, temptations occur right up to the end until we are finally able to make the shift and be transformed. Like any spiritual journey along the way, we discover friendships, allies to help us on our path. We realize inner resources we did not know that were there. And most of all, we discover love. It is the ring of love that we truly seek, the holy grail, the great prize of our true self. But in that search, we can go through a period of trial where we are tempted to succumb to the unhealthy parts of ourselves. Before our authentic power is won, however, there is temptation and power struggle. You may have heard me say this before, but I love Mark Twain's experience of temptation when he moved to Carson City, Nevada. He wrote a letter home saying, "This place is a den of iniquity, filled with wine, women, and song, certainly not a place for a good Presbyterian. Therefore, I no longer am one." Well, according to Gary Zukov, power struggles are the most important characteristic of the human experience. He says human history is the chronicle of power struggles between individuals, tribes, races, religions, the sexes, and nations. Every country and culture has its stories of struggles with other countries and cultures, striving to manipulate and control what appears to be outside of us, including other people, in the pursuit of external power. Boy, is that the truth. Well, power struggles occur for our purification because in many ways we feel powerless. And then we try to control, which increases the problem. One of the great tragedies of our culture is that we give our power away daily. We may choose other people as objects of love and credit them with making us happy, and then when they leave us, we blame them. A check may come to us in the mail, and we feel abundant and prosperous, and then the next day we receive an unexpected bill. What happens then? We've all done it. We get upset and we dwell on thoughts of lack and limitation. How many of you have ever done anything like that? I wish I could see your hands. I'm sure they would all be up. Well, the sun shines and we feel enthusiastic and happy, and then the rain comes and we feel sad and depressed. In other words, we give our power away to outer appearances, to circumstances, and to others far too often. How many of us have ever been disillusioned by giving power to authority figures? I mean, it's amazing how we can put people on pedestals. Granted, it's important for us to have heroes and role models that we can pattern after, but only for the sake of enhancing our own power, not to make us powerless. If we give our power away and put people on pedestals, we weaken ourselves and we set ourselves up for hurt. Or we may even worship somebody. Typical in our culture is worshiping entertainment figures. There's a great story of a woman who ran into Robert Redford, who was on location in Santa Fe, New Mexico, doing a movie, and he was around town in between takes. So this woman saw him in an ice cream parlor on Canyon Street, and she was just determined to stay cool and not give her power away. She pretended he was not even there. So after she left the shop, she realized she had come away without her ice cream cone. So she went back into the shop and asked for it. Overhearing, Robert Redford said, "Miss, you'll probably find it where you put it. It's in your purse." Well, giving power away. It's interesting how we view entertainers. My stepdaughter from my previous marriage was a television star. She played on the soap opera Dallas as Priscilla Presley's daughter. Her name was Charlie on the TV show, and her real name is Shalane. But she was on Dallas for 5 years, between age 9 and 14. And for a season, she had a boyfriend on the show, and that was when he was an older teenager, and his name was Brad Pitt. Well, it was quite an experience when she would come and visit us, because we went out and people would sometimes recognize her. So we had a family photo done once at Sears when she visited us, and all of the people in the place came over and gathered around. And she was always very embarrassed about this. But she came to visit us one time when my oldest son, Chris, was in 5th or 6th grade. And he'd been telling all of his classmates his older sister was on Dallas. And nobody believed him. So she came to visit for Thanksgiving weekend, but I had her come a day early. And I arranged with his teacher for her to go to his school. And it was such great fun to take her over there and watch the reaction of these kids. I mean, their mouths just dropped open when she walked in. They immediately recognized her. And she did a Q&A session. And since she had played Priscilla Presley's daughter on Dallas, one of the best questions she got was, "Does Elvis ever visit the set?" The poor kid did not actually know that Elvis had died, although there are a lot of people like that still, I think. Anyway, after people came up to Chris and said, "We thought you were a liar, but you were actually telling the truth." So he was vindicated, and that was a big day for him. He got some of his power back. And one kid carried Chris's saxophone all the way home that day because Chris was related to this TV star. Somehow some stardust was going to rub off on the kid. But it's amazing how early we start giving our power away because of a name or title or whatever. I must admit, if we were actually in church now and I heard that Brad Pitt or Keanu Reeves or several others I can think of were out in the front lobby, I would most likely abandon you all in the sanctuary, true confessions. Well, there have been many times in my life when I've given power to a teacher or to a doctor or to a minister or a psychic or a metaphysician or what have you, or any number of people who I felt had more knowledge or wisdom than I had about something we were discussing, or more conscious awareness than I did. There's a distinct difference between seeking help and guidance and giving away power. Giving away power means we attribute authority to another and no longer listen to ourselves, but rather give credence to the other person. For example, if you were to take my advice, because I'm a minister, and not listen to your own guidance in that process and say to yourself, "Oh, she must be right because she has the answers," that's giving your power away to me or to any teacher or authority figure. In that sense, you'd be telling yourself your opinion's not as valid and you're making yourself powerless. When in fact, as minister, I'm a vehicle, a mouthpiece for truth teachings. You may hear a truth I teach or counsel and feel it resonate within your own being as truth. And if you feel that inner resonance and you're continuing to listen to your guidance, then you're very much in charge of your own power. So we may hear a truth teaching by a teacher or minister and get it intellectually, but not have it in our heart yet. And we need to put it to the test. Once we have to put it to the test and we've got it, then we become our own authority. So not giving away power is very important. We also give our power away through scattered energy, not focusing. Many people do that. And we also give away power to religious organizations. By listening to our own truth, we do not become a religious automaton, accepting teachings blindly, but we process it through our own inner guidance. In that sense, we stay grounded in our own power. Well, part of the purpose of unity is to empower people. And this means to help each one who comes seeking to understand the source of true power. No power exists except the power of God. Some unity churches say in the beginning of every service, as we do, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good omnipotent. Only one power, and that is the power of God. Some people may seem to be expressing that power more than others, so we long to be around them and learn from them. And that's fine, and that can be healthy as long as we remember we are all divinely equal. And we all innately have this amazing gift of power. Power is one of our 12 spiritual attributes that we teach in unity. When Jesus was taken by Pontius Pilate, after being accused of crimes he did not commit, and Pilate threatened him, saying, "Don't you know I have the power to release you or to crucify you?" Jesus responded, "You have no power, but that given you by the Father. The only real power is the power of God." Well, there's a funny story about Amy Carter. When President Jimmy Carter was in the White House, this is an example of positional power. Amy Carter needed some help with her homework, and it was a Friday afternoon, and she had an assignment due on Monday, and this is a true story. It was a question about the Industrial Revolution, and neither she nor her mother quite understood the question. So her mother, Rosalind, asked a White House aide to ask the Labor Department. Well, Sunday afternoon, a truck pulled up to the White House loaded with a computer printout. Somebody had assumed it was information that the president urgently needed. So the Labor Department had kept a full computer staff working all weekend to prepare the information. Of course, in those days, you needed a truck to bring it. Well, when Rosalind was told the research had cost thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money, she was horrified. But it was too late to do anything about it. So they went ahead and used it to help Amy with her homework. On that particular assignment, Amy got a C. Well, there is positional power and personal power. And this is an important distinction. Positional power is the power we are given in society or in a corporate hierarchical structure. Positional power may be achieved by our skills and talents, by the money that we have to buy our position. It may be achieved by the contacts we have or the people we know. The other power is personal power. Personal power comes from accessing the divine presence within, our true innate power. The problem is some people are given positional power before they have personal power. When people end up in position to power before they're ready for it, before they are expressing that divine presence in the form of personal power, they may be overwhelmed with their position and cause all kinds of harm. We are seeing that in our country today, in our politics. We see it in politics all the time. Well, it's very important in working on power that we focus more on the idea of personal power, accessing our divine presence rather than finding our way up some hierarchical ladder. In other words, seek the kingdom, queendom first. Because the power that we are talking about is in fact pure spiritual power. Jesus told us over and over again, the kingdom of heaven is within you. these things and even more you can do, even greater things you can do. Emily Cady, an early Unity writer, who wrote the book Lessons in Truth and How I Use Truth, gave an example of a time when a real strong personality was trying to control her. And this was a man who apparently was exerting a very negative influence. And she was having trouble getting him out of her life. And she started to affirm, this personality is powerless to affect me. And when that wasn't working, she finally began to say, there is no such personality as this. There is only God. At that point, when she began this affirmation, that person dropped out of her life and could no longer have that kind of influence over her. There's another great story about power. A man saw 3 parrots in a pet store and asked the prices. Well, said the store owner, this first one is $500 because he knows 1,000 words and can type. The second one costs $1,000 because it knows everything the first parrot does, plus it can design a newspaper page, cut a 77-inch story to 9 paragraphs in 6 minutes, fix a broken printing press, and drive a delivery truck. Well, very impressed, the customer asked about the third parrot. Well, that one's $5,000, the pet shop owner said. Wow, said the customer, what can it do? Well, to be honest, I've never seen it do anything, said the pet shop owner, but the other 2 call him boss. A lot of personal power makes a difference. How will we use our power? For good or for ill? Another important question. About 90 years ago, a man picked up the morning paper and to his horror, read his own obituary. The newspaper had reported the death of the wrong man. Like most of us, he relished the idea of finding out what people would say about him after he died. And so he read past the bold caption which read, "Dynamite King Dies," to the text itself. He read along until he was taken aback by the description of him as a merchant of death. He was the inventor of dynamite, and he amassed a great fortune from the manufacture of weapons of destruction. But he was moved by this description. Did he really want to be known as a merchant of death? It was at that moment that a great healing power, greater than the destructive force of dynamite, came over him. It was his hour of conversion. From that point on, he devoted his power, his energy, and his money to works of peace and human betterment. Today, of course, he is best remembered not as a merchant of death, but as the founder of the Nobel Peace Prize, Alfred Nobel. Alfred Nobel claimed his power. He transformed his life into something greater, something higher, something more authentically noble. By letting go of the old, he chose a more abundant life, a life of compassion for others. He chose to use his power in creative rather than destructive ways. The queendom of heaven is at hand. Our miracle of abundance is ready for us. Let us lift up our eyes and stop seeing empty wallets, unpaid bills, unemployment, illness, lack of opportunity, lack of love, lack of ability. Let us deny the power of appearance. Not deny the appearance, but deny the power of it and claim our true power, the power of God. In closing, Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, said, "All power is given unto you in all the affairs of mind and body. Exercise your God-given power, authority, and dominion, and rise out of bondage." God bless you. Claim your power. Have a wonderful week.